Okay, so hi everyone. Our objective as the IO Task Force is to create opportunity for social connection and professional developments. So this is why we have started this speaking series. This will be the last for this month. So today we are joined by Dr. Jennifer Thompson, who a lot of you may already know. I will just do a quick introduction. So Dr. Thompson has combined her career as a business psychologist with the newest field of positive psychology and its effect on organization and individuals. Through her PhD in IO psychology and a certification in positive psychology, she brings together a strong scientific background paired with the latest research on emotion and motivation to generate powerful results. She has been a professor in the business psychology department at the Chicago School for over 15 years, and she has experience in the airline, technology, and healthcare industry. So without further ado, Dr. Thompson, please take it away.
Hi, well, I'm glad to be here and excited to share with you this mini training on psychological capital, which is my primary area of research. And if some of you are thinking about the doctorate program, this is a very likely topic for most of my dissertation students. So in this training, after we're done, you should be able to describe the different elements that make up PsyCap, or short for psychological capital. You'll be able to demonstrate how it's related to other outcomes. You'll be able to talk about what it's related to, and you're going to apply short interventions to yourself, which you can use, for yourself and then also for a client with PsyCap. Okay, so we're going to go through what PsyCap is, what it's related to, the training, and then I'm going to share some results from a training intervention I did here at the Chicago School. So as an overview, PsyCap is made up of 4 dimensions: self-efficacy, hope, resilience, and optimism. And it is related to both academic and work outcomes. And it's also trainable. So, and the trainings that Dr. Johnson, who's a former dissertation student, has shown lasting effects, and we've both done some research to show immediate effects. So here are the 4 dimensions. We have hope, self-efficacy, resilience, and optimism. And I'm going to describe each of them. Here we go. So hope is the ability to create and achieve goals, and it has 2 major components. One is called agency, and the other is pathways. Agency is one's determination to create or work towards goals, and it's also referred to as willpower. And pathways are the routes that someone would take to accomplish a goal. And the idea is that you want to have multiple pathways, and you want to think about the obstacles to those pathways and make a plan around it. And this thinking about your pathways is called way power. So you have willpower and way power. And all of this must happen within the context of a goal, a desirable goal that you want to achieve. Okay, next is self-confidence, self-efficacy, which is the confidence in one's ability to achieve a goal. And this was initially in social cognitive theory, but what we know is individuals with high self-efficacy enter into potentially stressful situations with more confidence, and they're able to resist stressful reactions. People with low self-efficacy sort of have this expectation to fail or more regularly experience stress and anxiety. Self-efficacy is related to academic performance and higher engagement in the workplace. And it's definitely been shown to be trainable. It's developed through task mastery. If someone accomplishes something challenging, they're more confident they can do it again. Next, we have resilience, which is the ability to recover after setbacks and adversity. And within PsyCap, it's really called, it's a learning reaction to any event, including positive ones. So recognizing you have both negative stressful events and positive stressful events, and having a learning growth mindset reaction to this, realizing everything is a learning opportunity. And people who have resilience are able to adapt in the wake of negative or positive experiences, and they don't get stuck. And resilience is tied to academic performance, but also to just enjoyment, participation, self-esteem, and in the workplace, engagement. So the last construct of PsyCap is optimism. And optimism is the ability to have a positive and realistic outlook. It's being confident that you're making progress. You're also ruling out unrealistic expectations. So optimism is not this, pie in the sky, head in the sand, unrealistic look. It's a very realistic expectation for success. And there's three components here. So there's permanence, pervasiveness, and personalization. And so you want to think about negative events in your life as being impermanent, not occurring frequently, not widespread, not pervasive, and also not due to yourself, so external. And you want to think of positive events in your life being like, this happens all the time. It's very permanent. It's pervasive. It's widespread everywhere in my life. And it's personal. It's me. I have these wonderful abilities, and that's why I'm achieving this success. And optimistic individuals expect positive outcomes, which result from increased levels of effort. And so high optimism equals high effort, despite challenges and setbacks. So next I want to talk about the outcomes. And having high psychological capital, which is the amalgamation of these four constructs, is tied to higher academic engagement, more motivation towards school, higher achievement as measured through the GPA, and better well-being. And then at work, higher psychological capital is tied to higher engagement, more organizational commitment, higher job satisfaction, lower turnover intention, more organizational citizenship behaviors, higher performance, and this performance is measured both objectively, supervisor, and self-report. And higher psychological capital is also tied to lower stress and anxiety and better well-being. Now, why I'm studying PsyCap is unlike personal characteristics, personality, or character strengths, PsyCap is predominantly state-like, meaning that it's fluid and it can change. And so what that means is that you can train it. And if it's more trait-like say extroversion or openness to experience, that's very difficult to change. But being state-like, you can do short interventions and increase psychological capital, which we've seen is tied to a host of beneficial outcomes. And this training has occurred both live and online. I've done both. And the results have been, immediate. You immediately increase your PsyCap, and we've shown that it can last up to 4 months. Whoops. Okay, so quick poll question. Is PsyCap state-like or trait-like? I don't know if anyone wants to answer. State-like, that's right. So it's state-like. It's more stable in a mood, but it changes. It's definitely not trait-like, which is less flexible. Tends to be stable over your lifetime.
I have a question.
Yes.
You said that you test this PsyCap online and live. Did you see any difference between the two, or was it the same results?
I didn't have big enough numbers to look at it. I think I only had about like 8 or 9 students online.
Okay.
But they did all the same activities, so I would not expect that there were any differences.
Yeah.
So, but again, not big enough numbers to look at. Okay, So mini PsyCap training. So here we go. I'm going to run you through, and some of you may have been in my stats class and had a little bit of this. But what I want to do also before we get started is I have a handout that's really helpful to go along to. So what I want to do is I'm going to put it in the chat. Sorry, I've got to look for it. For some reason, it's not letting me go to my computer.
Maybe you need to stop sharing the screen.
Potentially. Let's see. Pause share. Oh, I'm not clicking on the document. Dropbox. No, it's only. Let me pull this down here. It's going to have me log in. You know what? I'm going to email it to you really quick.
Okay.
That might be faster. And I'm going to copy you, Maria, just so. Yeah, let's do that. And then we'll, because it's wanting me to sign in and all that. Okay, so let me go back to the training and share my screen, resume share. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
I have the handout also.
Okay, good. And just to, I'm just going to refer to what it looks like as well. So this is just a handout, and to start out, what you want to do is you want to think of a goal, and you want to write your goal in here, and we're going to generate some pathways, and then we're going to take one pathway and break it down into some steps. So if you've got that out, that's what we're going to write on and do. And I think it'd be helpful, think about a goal that's really, really important to you. And as I think about this group, I think, you know, like getting an internship, getting a job, those types of things that are really important to you would be a great thing to focus on for this. So now that you're thinking, you know, think of this goal, give you just a minute. And now that you're thinking of it, we're going to break the long range goal into steps or sub goals. And then you're going to generate different routes to your goal. You're going to be really creative, just list as many things as you can without evaluating them. And you're also going to think about what's the deep meaning of this goal. Why is it so important to you? And I don't think I have a spot on that on the handout, but maybe jot that down. So just jot it down under here. So you write your goal in here and then get creative, like, you know, how could you achieve this goal? And you want to write something down. So let's say if you want a job in diversity and inclusion, right? What's a pathway? One pathway is an internship in diversity and inclusion. One pathway could be getting a mentor who's in diversity and inclusion. One pathway could be attending diversity and inclusion trainings. Another one could be networking with diversity and inclusion people. So, you know, you've got the idea, just like filling it out. So then let's take one, let's say getting an internship in diversity and inclusion. What are the steps to do that, right? So step one might be research all the open positions available. Maybe another step is research what the skills are that are needed for this internship. And then maybe 3, do an evaluation. What skills are you missing? 4, making a plan to get those skills or that experience. So you want to do that for each one of these pathways. So I've just got one charted out, but there's room for you to do all of them. And so I want to give you a minute to write down your goal and begin to think about this. And so I'm going to pause for a minute here. Okay, I'm here and I'm printing out the handout and going along with you. I love to do this. One of the things from doing this is that it's going to generate a lot of positive emotions and boost my confidence and make me feel good. So whenever I do this, I like to just pick some goal and write about it. So in addition to the short-term effects that I'll feel tonight from doing this, I also have a higher likelihood of achieving this. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next one. If you're watching this later on, you can just pause and if you need more time. Okay. Now, thinking of your goal, we're going to boost self-efficacy. And I want you to think who in your life is a role model that you can talk to and get advice from in the area of your goal. So this could also be a pathway and a way to boost self-efficacy. 2, reflect back on your life when you've had an experience of being similar or of being successful in a similar goal. And number 3, what strengths do you have that you can apply to achieving this goal? And so one of the things, when I think about strengths, I do a strength-based training through MFS. And if you have not done this, a great idea, and I'm going to bring it up into the screen, is to go to via character strengths. And if you go here, there's a free survey. I think it takes like 10-15 minutes, and then you'll get your top 5 strengths. And this is great. And there's a lot of tools and things to work with here that help you work with your strengths. And the idea is you really want to focus on using your top 5 strengths more, because that brings positive emotions and helps you at work. In addition, Gallup also has something called a strength finder. And I think that it could be $30 to $50. I'm not sure how much. It's more work related rather than general life related, as this VIA one is. But either one. So if you're like, I don't know what my strengths are, you can ask people, or you can take this free survey. Okay, now in the handout, we're moving along. Oh, one thing I forgot to do that you'll plan for time later is for each thing, imagine an obstacle. So let's say, I want to get a mentor in diversity and inclusion and I can't seem to find anybody. Like I can't find anybody. What are you going to do then? So you want to plan for an obstacle. You want to imagine an obstacle for each one of your pathways. And then you want to plan, what are you going to do? Because what tends to happen in human nature is when we have come up with an obstacle, we stop, we get stuck in our tracks, unless we're feeling really, really determined. And then we tend to forget about it. And then we go, oh, yeah, like a year ago, I said I was going to get a mentor and I never did. So and this is a little bit around ego depletion. So if we write out, this is what I'm going to do when I get stuck, we don't even think about it. We have another plan and we keep going. Okay. So then self-efficacy. These are the 3 things we're going to work on. So make sure you know your strengths. And then these are some questions to help you play this out. So describe your role model in relation to attaining your goal. Who would be a role model? Assemble your team. Who is encouraging you? Who could you ask for help? So think about getting people around. They're going to be very socially supportive for you towards this goal. Okay. And then what similar goals have you achieved in the past? And kind of thinking about what you did there and what could help you now. And then what strengths and skills could help you achieve this new goal? How could you apply them? And I just would like you to list out your strengths and more how you apply them to this goal. And I see someone popping on. And so I'm just going to really quickly send an email with the handout. See here. There we go. All right, so that should be sent. Okay. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to answer these questions. You don't have time to take the survey, but answer the questions you can in terms of things you can do to boost your self-efficacy. Okay, just another minute. Yeah, and for those of you that just came on, we're thinking about a goal. And I'm suggesting one such as getting an internship you really want, getting a job you really want, and we're thinking about who would be your role model in relation to attaining this.
Dr. Thompson,
Yes.
would emotional intelligence fit in PsyCap, or are those two completely different things?
They're two completely different things. So it's a great question. Emotional intelligence is really being aware of your own emotions, and this really has to do more with like stress, unease, happiness, thinking about those types of things. And that'd be the first component. And the second component is being able to manage them, right? So they're not, you're not running crazy every time you feel stressed. You're like, I feel stressed, and you've got some things to work with it. Third, you're aware of and sense or understand emotions in others, right? So you have this meeting and you say, oh, this person was saying this, but their body language wasn't mirroring that. Something's off. What's up here? And so being able to read others' emotions accurately. And the fourth element, which, I think is kind of the final building block here, is being able to influence others' emotions, really. And this really has to do with leadership and possibly a little charisma. But you're able to help other people navigate their emotions and influence them, right? So inspire them to reach a goal, things like that. So I think PsyCap is more about being aware of your thought process rather than your emotions, although your emotions play into it for sure. I mean, and that's a very, very broad generalization.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So moving on, the next thing we're going to talk about is resilience, or bouncing back. And here, I want you to think about the doubt that you experience around this goal. Like, I'm not going to be able to get the internship I want. This is why. And I want you to write down some of these thoughts. And I'll show you where on the handouts. But what we're going to do is we're going to practice what's called real-time resilience. And that is being very mindful of these thoughts that you have, writing them down. And then this is what we call like hit back statements or bounce back statements. Like, that's not true because another way of seeing it is, or the most likely outcome is, and I can, and these are just great statements to have in your back pocket anyway, but here's the handout. So I have these up here so you can remember what they are. So you're going to write down doubts you experience around this goal, like, I don't have enough experience. I'm shy in interviews. I'm trying to think of it, and everyone's are going to be personal, right? And so let's say, like, I don't have enough experience to get this internship. And you say, well, that's not true because everyone who gets an internship generally does not have a lot of experience. Or another way of seeing that is, this is a chance to get experience. Or another way of seeing this is, I could take on a volunteer project to boost my experience if I'm not feeling confident about it. Another way of seeing it is, I need to do a really good job in my cover letter of addressing my inexperience and why they should hire me, perhaps by like talking about your strengths. And then we got the most likely outcome is, I will eventually get an intern. And if I don't get the one I want right away, I can continue to work toward it. Right? So here what we're doing is we're changing the way, we're trying to practice and change the way we think about this very important goal, right? Because it's very tempting to say some negative things because we think it might crush us, it might protect us from feeling crushed, or a blow of not getting what we want, or not, getting it right away. I can think of maybe if someone's trying to pass comprehensive exams and they don't the first time, you could say, it's because I'm not smart enough. You could say that's not true because maybe I didn't study enough. Maybe I need to take a different approach. Another way of seeing that is, so anyway, you can see how these statements can help you think of more positive and resilient ways to think about your goal. So I'm going to give you just a minute to practice this. Any questions? Feel free to jump in. Okay. I'm going to move on to the next part, unless anyone says they need a few more minutes. Good. Okay. I want to pause long enough for you to write, but not too long. Okay. So this last part of PsyCap is understanding your hidden beliefs. And the goal is here, we want to be more optimistic. So in order to be optimistic, you need to understand how your mind is working. You need to understand that mind chatter. First, you're going to want to engage in some mindfulness, breathing, or meditation exercises. This helps you understand the flow of mind chatter and help quiet it. And recognizing this will also help you with your resilience, because you'll realize when you're having that negative mind chatter and when to activate that real-time resilience. But the mindfulness, the breathing, and the meditation are going to help you understand your beliefs. And then next, you want to examine how you attribute failure and success. You can believe that either one of these is due to circumstance or due to who you are and your personal qualities. And so you want to shift your beliefs so that you attribute failure to temporary external causes. So I failed this exam, or I didn't get this interview for an internship, or I didn't get the internship, or I didn't get the job. And so instead of saying, if to do it the right way, I would say, this is one setback. There just was someone more qualified. And then when you have success, like when you get that interview, you want to attribute it to internal stable qualities. So when you experience success, you want to say, it's because of me and these things that are stable about me. So an example is, failure happened because you didn't study as much as you should have, which is situational, not because you're not smart, which is internal. Similarly, when you get an amazing grade, you believe you deserve it and you think it's due to your wonderful qualities. Oops. Okay, so let me pull up the handout. And here I've got, you want to understand your explanatory style. You want to attribute failure to temporary external causes. So any failure you've experienced in this area, you want to write down what, temporary external causes. Any success you've got in this area towards your goal, you want to write down your internal stable causes. And then for understanding mind chatter, you want to practice mindfulness, breathing, or meditation. And on the last page of this handout, I've got one that's probably the easiest to do is breathing. So there's different breathing techniques you can do. One that I teach in my PsyCap class is breathing in 5 times, or breathing in for 5 seconds and out for 5 seconds for 1 minute. So you breathe in and breathe out. And I like to do this when I used to take the train before the pandemic. So this is something I would do, right before my stop for a couple of minutes, like really kind of, and what it does is it resets your parasympathetic nervous system to be calm. It's like a quick shortcut to your system. And I would do it on the way home too. So it's kind of like this break in between work and home. But what I've got here are, there's lots of different ones. You can breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. I think that's called box breathing. It's many different variations. It really doesn't matter. Just pick one and practice it for a minute or two. But here's some really important research. It stimulates brain growth and improves your heart rate variability, which is like the overall marker of your health. It lowers stress levels. It alleviates anxiety and negative emotions, reduces testing anxiety, helps lower blood pressure, and alters gene expression. So they've actually looked to see that I think this particular study is, I know there's one for mindfulness where it alters the length of the genes. It's called the telomere. And so doing mindfulness, doing meditation can alter your gene expression, which is really, really cool. So there's all these great reasons why to do it, but it will also help you achieve optimism, realizing your mind pattern when your mind patterns may be sending you away from being optimistic or resilient. So it can help you with both. Okay. So the last slide I have for you here is that, so I did a training on PsyCap. I also included some positive psych elements of learning to increase your positive emotions, growth mindset, and mindfulness and meditation. So those were the first 3 components of the training. And then I did a component on each, it was like an hour long on hope, an hour on self-efficacy, an hour in resilience. So it's like for 8 weeks, 8 1-hour sessions. And what I have here is I had a control group. So this is my control group from time 1 to time 2. You can see nothing really changed. But from time 1 to time 2, I had a significant change in PsyCap scores. So 8 1-hour interventions, and I was able to change for the better PsyCap scores. So it went from like a little less than 4.5 to almost 5. So I was able to change it about half a point. And then similarly, not quite as strong, or maybe this, I'm not sure if the scale is the same. Again, here's my control group. And here's my training group. And I was able to increase academic engagement. So doing these positive psych and PsyCap trainings, I was in academic engagement is how invested you are in your studies, how much you're enjoying it, and a direct precursor to GPA. And so anyway, we were able to increase that with this very short intervention. So what I would encourage you to do is, understand that this is, a little bit of work can have a really strong impact. And what I'd also like to do, if you're interested in some of the other things, what I can do, I'll pull up this handout, because what I have here is this QR code. Let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger. There we go. There's a QR code here, and it goes to my website. And if you want to learn to increase positive emotions, these are 12 intentional activities. You can just pick 1 or 2, and you can work on increasing positive emotions. And I think the last thing I wanted to talk about in these positive emotions, realize like 50% of it is your genetics, only 10% is your circumstance. So things we attribute most of our happiness to, 40% of it are intentional activities, such as increasing the PsyCap or the increasing the positive emotions. So I just wanted to share these extra resources. They weren't really part of my training, but if anyone's, I happened to see them today and I thought, oh, somebody might be interested in that. So with that, that's all I have for you. And I just want to open it up for questions for our last few minutes.
Just want to say, I think that's also a great tool to use on children for like education.
Absolutely. Yeah, these can definitely be, any of these can be used with children. And, you know, the mindful or the breathing, what I have learned from the Shambhala Center here in Chicago is they do physical things because it's hard for them to kind of understand their breath. So they'll do they'll be like, okay, you're Spider-Man. And they go, you're shooting out webs, you know, or like you're shooting a bow and arrow. So they do something physical and that really helps the kids like know they're breathing in and breathing out.
That's nice.
Yeah.
If no one has any more questions, thank you, Dr. Thompson, for your time and for this presentation.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I would like to thank Alison also and the IO Task Force for organizing this event. I hope you all enjoy it and that you will use it to achieve your goals. I'm just going to stop the recording now.